Welcome to S3 Service Hands-on Demo. In this section, we'll look at how to create an S3 bucket, how to upload a file to our bucket, how the bucket policies work, where we can find the bucket policies, and where we can find the URL of the object that we just uploaded, this PDF document that we're going to upload. Then we look at how to make this object public so anybody on the internet can access that object. We'll understand how the life policies work for this bucket. Then we'll look at the versioning support for the S3 bucket. Then we'll figure out how to enable static website hosting we talked about. This is where we can upload all our HTML files or JavaScript file or images to create a static website on S3 bucket directly. Then we'll look at how to delete that object and finally delete the entire S3 bucket. So I'm on the Amazon console and I'm going to click on the S3 storage and content delivery section. And right now I have one S3 bucket, but I'm going to create a brand new S3 bucket, and it's going to ask me a name of the bucket. So I'm just going to choose CS431 as the name of the bucket, and I can choose a region for the bucket. You can choose a region for your bucket. In this case, I'm going to leave it Oregon because that's where all my AWS resources are going to be. I'm going to click on the create button. And once the bucket is created, I can look at the permission of that bucket. The first thing we want to look at is the permission option. So the first thing we want to look at is the permission of the bucket. So I have to select the bucket and click on this properties tab to open the details of that bucket. The first thing we want to look at is the permission. By default, only the account holder has permission to either list the files in the bucket, you can upload or delete permission, or look at the permission, or even edit the permission. If I want to give permission to somebody else, I can click on the grantee tab over here, and I can have everybody access this file, or only authenticated users access this file. Right now I'm just going to leave it blank. And then the next option we want to look at is the static website hosting. So this, if you click on this option, the name of the bucket will be JHUCS431 because that's the name of the bucket I created, and it's s3 website.us2.amazonaws.com. If I choose, I can create an alias from my DNS network. So if my domain happens to be www.example.com, then I can make an alias. So when somebody visits myexample.com, they will be redirected to this website. So if I want to enable static website hosting, I can click on the website hosting, and then I can choose the name of the document of my the main name of my home page. So in this case, let's say my home page is index.html. I can type in the name of the index.html. I can tell the name of the error document if somebody cannot find a specific document. This is the 404 equivalent to 404 page. So I can specify the error document. So when you enable versioning, every object, every version of every object is stored in the bucket. So whenever you delete it, whenever you overwrite it, the previous version of the file is stored if you enable versioning. So you just need to click this button. The one thing we want to remember is once you enable versioning, you cannot disable it. You can only suspend it. The next feature we want to talk about is the lifecycle policy or lifecycle rules. We can create lifecycle rules to take action on our objects automatically. So you can use lifecycle rules to manage versions of our objects. So if I want to create a rule, I can click on this add rule, and I can say this rule applies to the entire bucket or to a specific subfolder on the bucket. Then I can click on configure rule. Then what actions do I want to take on the bucket? So I can choose archive the objects, or that is to move to Glacier, or I can permanently delete it. Then I can say archive it and then delete from S3 bucket. So let's say I want to say archive only. Then it says archive to Glacier. After I want to move the files after 365 days after the object's creation day. So if you do that, then at the end of the year, the files will be moved to Glacier. I can review my rule. I can optionally give a name to the rule. I'm just going to say move to Glacier, and then create and activate rule. I can add additional rules also. The next feature we want to talk about is the cross-region replication. So for cross-region replication, once you enable it, every future upload, so it doesn't impact the existing objects in the bucket. So any new objects that you upload to the bucket will be copied to another bucket in another region. To use cross-region replication, you need to enable versioning before versioning first. You can also choose to tag your S3 buckets. So if you want to have some sort of chargeback model, if you want to charge a specific project or a specific customer, you can tag your bucket. So these are the options at the bucket level. So let's go ahead and upload some files to the new bucket. So I'm going to click the name of the bucket, and I have right now there are no objects in the bucket, as you can see. So I'm going to click on upload option, and there's some information that we want to pay attention here. So it says to upload files up to 5 TB each. So the largest object I can upload to S3, like we said in the class, is 5 TB. So now if I want to upload files, I can just click on add files. I'm going to choose this PDF document I have on my laptop, say choose. Now before I hit upload, before I hit start upload, I have a couple of options. I can click on the set details link here, and if I want to use reduced redundancy, or if I want to use server-side encryption, I can enable that. And like we discussed in the class, you can have Amazon manage the master key, or you can have you can use another service from Amazon called key management service to specify your own keys. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at the default option, and then and next let's go ahead and start uploading the file. So it's going to take a minute or two to upload this file. So once the upload is completed, you can look at the details of the object itself. So it shows the URL of the object, in this case S3USWest2 AmazonAWS.com, the name of the bucket itself JHUCS431, and the file that you just uploaded. And then it has the details. So right now I selected reduced redundancy and AES 256 server-side encryption. And you can also click on the metadata information to look at the file details. AWS S3 automatically detected that this is a PDF document, and it's going to send this as content type of application PDF. So now if I try to access this URL by clicking here, I'm going to get an access denied because I have not enabled permission for anybody on the internet to access it. So if I want to make that object accessible, I can come to the permission section, click on add a more permission, and I say for everybody else can open or download that file. So once I save that file, save that permission, and come and refresh that page, now I can see that PDF document. Because I did not give access to everybody else on the internet, I was not able to access it earlier. So as we can see, we created a S3 bucket, we uploaded a file, we looked at the properties of the bucket. So if you want to look at the properties of the bucket itself, you have to click on the name of the bucket and then click on the properties. And before we wrap up, let's look at the events section. So if you want to click on the event section, we talked about this briefly in the class. We can get notification about deletes and uploads to our S3 bucket. We can select the type of the event we are interested in. If somebody posted a file, when somebody uploaded a file, or somebody deleted a file, we can get a notification either using SNS or SQS, or you can notify an application. Let's go and try to delete that bucket itself. So if we click on all buckets, select the bucket itself, and then from the actions menu, you can delete the bucket. So it's going to ask for a confirmation, and it wants you to type the name of the bucket before it deletes it. So I'm just going to name it JHUCS431. That's the name of my bucket. and it's going to give you a warning. So essentially what it's saying is, if you delete this bucket, you may lose the name of the bucket to another AWS users. Like we said in the class, the bucket names had to be unique across all regions, across all customers. So as soon as I hit delete option, so anybody else on Amazon can get this bucket name. So in summary, we now know how to create an S3 bucket. We know how to upload a file to an S3 bucket. We understand the bucket policies and access control list. We understand where to find the URL of the bucket, the URL of the object, and how to access that object in the browser. When we try to access it without making it public, we got an access denied. We get an access denied error message. So now then we've learned how to make that object public. We learned about lifecycle policies. We learned about versioning support in S3 bucket, and we learned where to set up the S3 static website hosting. We learned how to delete the S3 bucket and object when we are done using it.